My name is Sylvia Swigert, and I am your room monitor for now. Our speaker today is a volunteer. The best way to thank them would be to provide honest and useful feedback with the session evaluation at the conclusion of our session today. Our tech master will drop into the chat toward the end of the session the link to the survey. But if you miss it, don't worry. It'll also be available to you when you log off the session. If you're not speaking, please remember to keep yourself on mute to avoid background noise. We have a fun and interactive session planned today. If you want to see the speaker and make the presentation smaller, drag the speaker window to the left. Thank you. And now, whoops, let me introduce our speaker today. Diana D has been a Toastmaster for almost 40 years. The first half of her professional life, she helped design high-powered chemical lasers for President Reagan's Star Wars defense program.
Oh,
wow. In the second half, she taught relational database design, data querying, and relational database management. Her license plate reads MS SQL. And now I will hand it to the room monitor, Sherry Horowitz. Continue.
Oh, thank you, Sylvia. I got thrown into another room. I did think that was hysterical that that's what her license plate reads, MS SQL. So Diana D is actually retired. And what that really means is that she is the full-time Toastmaster. She is a full-time Toastmaster. And she also does spend time taking care of her husband, Ed. Dr. Diana has been interested in contest judging for a long time. And in 2001, she attended the World Championship of Public Speaking in Anaheim. And to test her judging skill, she brought and filled out a judging form as though she was the judge. She agreed with the judging results on the first and second place winners. And then years later, in 2016, she was asked by the chief judge and international director to serve as the tie-breaking judge at a semi-final speech contest at the International Convention. Diana has trained judges and chief judges at previous LACE and contest training events. And fortunately for us, today, she'll be helping us become a well-trained Toastmaster speech contestant judge. So please help me give her a warm welcome to an indefatigable, oh my gosh, can't say the word, and masterful Dr. Diana D.
Thank you very much. Let's see if I can pull off the advanced share screen. Okay, I've got so far so good. Then what do I do? Oh, then I do that. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. Yay! Now I get to be bigger. Okay. Oh, there's a fun background for you guys. I'm doing this as my fun background. Aha. Here's what we're going to talk about today. Why do we have contests? What is the judge's task? Why do we want to train judges? What are the qualifications for being a judge per the rule book? Procedures, protests. We will review the judge's guide and ballot. We have a little practice session and what you do after the contest. Contests are an important part of the Toastmasters education program. It's good for speakers to gain experience. And Frank, would you please mute yourself? Thank you very much. Or the Techmaster can zap you. Okay. Members of the public can see interesting programs. Toastmasters can observe speakers. And of course, when you volunteer for a contest role, whatever it is, you get leadership experience that you cannot get at your club. And judges serve an important role in the contests. This doesn't have my float in characteristics when I'm sharing this way. Oh, well, we will just live with it. So your task as a judge is that for each contest, you want to pick a winner. This is different from your evaluations that you give in clubs, because you're not giving feedback to the speakers, you are actually grading them and picking the one with the highest score according to you. One of the handouts has all of these slides in it. So if you're one of these people like me who like to take notes, who like to have a record of what is being said, one of the handouts is a copy of these slides at 4 per page in a PDF file. We want to understand, as judges, understand what judging involves and the judging criteria. We want to choose winners as fairly as possible. In other words, winners who should win. I have been to area contests where the judges were incredibly inexperienced. Some of them either did not have judges training or did not have good judges training. And pretty much the winners, the people who should have won, did not win. And this makes both contestants and the audience feel very poorly about the contest. You want to have happy people at the end. First of all, for qualifications at the area division or district level, which is what we're talking about here, you need to have been a member for at least 6 months. Now, this training is also very good for contestants because they get to see how they will be judged and what the criteria are. But the judge qualifications are be a paid member for 6 months at least, have completed level 1 and 2 in any path, should not be a contestant at the same level. Well, what does that mean? You could be a member of Founders District, and you could also be in a club that is in, say, District 100. Let's say you're in 2 clubs. And you can compete in as many clubs as you want, but above the club level, you have to choose a club to represent. So let's say that you choose your club in District 100 and you move on to the area contest for your club's area in District 100. Now you're in Founders District and somebody calls you up because you're on the trained judges list. And they say, would you judge at our area contest? Well, you are a contestant at the area level somewhere in the world, and therefore you cannot be a judge at the area level. I hope that clarifies that statement. Also, as a judge, you should not be in the same club as a contestant. However, at the area contest, if you can't get enough judges with those criteria, there can be equal representation, but that's very difficult to do. And not written anywhere in any rule book, the Founders District would like all of you as judges to have been trained within the previous 2 years. If you have an in-person contest, you would want to come early, get ballots, be briefed by the chief judge. Now, in any contest, we will look at the ballot in a little bit, the actual, an image of the ballot, but you would want to print and sign your name on the ballot ahead of time, because if you turn in a ballot that doesn't have your name and your signature, your ballot is invalid and will not be counted. If you're in person, sit where you can see and hear in the front half of the room, but don't sit too near another judge. Get a contest program and go to the contestant page for the contest. And you can use that list of contestants to mark the speaking order rather than trying to write that on your ballot as the speakers are introduced. And then you can transfer that list to your ballot. After a contestant performs, you will have 1 minute in between contestants to mark your ballot. Don't worry if you don't have time to add up the numbers in the 1 minute. I know the international ballot has something like 10 items on it going down the page. Just make sure, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 7 or 8. Just make sure that you get the numbers in there that you want to put in there, and whether or not you add them up right then, it's okay. For a virtual contest, there is going to be a pre-contest briefing. Founders District is having all contests this contest season be hybrid, which means some of you can be in person down at the Ollie facility, and others of you might be at home, lounging in your pajamas, doing your judge thing, and you would be a virtual judge. Because there is this mixture, the chief judge is going to schedule, and you should definitely attend a pre-contest rehearsal. That will be for both the in-person and the virtual judges in the hybrid situation that we will have. I think more of that is coming up. In any case, you want to enter the contest, if you are a virtual judge, with your blank black screen with no picture on it, no profile picture. So take out all the profile pictures that you so carefully have. I know pets are nice, kids are nice. Your picture is nice, but you will have no picture, and you will change your name to judge with a number after it, your assigned judge number, so that nobody knows who you are. And I've done this. I've wanted to talk it during the part of the meeting. You just have to go, nope, I can't do that, because then they'll know who I am. Okay. Have your judge's guide and ballot ready. And you also should print and sign your full name on the ballot and tear it off or tear it almost off ahead of time. After each contestant, you will have your usual 1 minute to mark your ballot. And there will be a rehearsal. Let's see if I mentioned that on this. Oh, I'm talking about the ballot. But in any case, there will be a rehearsal, and you will need to know how the ballots will be collected. You will, the contest environment will be that all of the counters and the chief judge will want to have a copy of your ballot. Whether you do texting groups, you individually text, or you email is up to what is determined at the rehearsal. On your ballot, which I've shown here, I need to kind of get out of the way of it. On your ballot, you will mark a first place, second place, and third place winner, unless, of course, there's only 2 contestants, which might happen at the area level. As long as there are 3 contestants or more, you must indicate first, second, and third, or your ballot is invalid. You are not allowed to have a tie. You must, if you have a tie on your score sheet, you must break your own tie and have indicated on your ballot a first, second, and third place winner for that contest. Now, I am not sure how the ballots are going to be collected. I am thinking that the old in-person envelope method may be bypassed. It may be that in a hybrid contest, as a judge, you will be asked to, of course, then they'll know who the judges are. I am not sure exactly what's going to happen, but my guess is that all the judges will be called into the, what I'm going to call the judge room. This is a room isolated from the rest of the meeting. You as a judge would finish marking your ballot there and then do whatever has been decided in the rehearsal to get your ballot to the counters and the chief judge. It is unfortunate that the point value has been put on your ballot. Those point values are only for the counters, not you. Do not let point values distract you. Just look at where it says first place, second place, third place, and put first place on the top, second place in the middle, and third place at the bottom. If you happen to be chosen as a tie-breaking judge, you will be given a tie-breaking judge's ballot, which will ask you to rate every contestant in the contest. I was lucky enough to attend a semifinal contest at the International Convention in Washington, D.C., and I entered, and the international director, who was the chief judge, walked up to me. I'm not going to reveal who that person was. I'll just say it was a female. And she said to me, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Well, I noticed that the contestant from District 73 is here, and I was just in New Zealand, and I want to see that contestant." And she decided that was indicated that I didn't have a real interest in who won. I wouldn't be prejudiced. So she said, "I don't trust who they told me is going to be my tie-breaking judge. You be the tie-breaking judge." There were 11 contestants. I had to rank them all. It is exhausting and very difficult to do that. I just hope that one of these days you get that experience for some contest. You can be exhausted after. Protests. If you look in the rule book, the current rule book on page 16, I believe, there is general rule number 7 talking about protests. There are only 3 reasons a protest may be lodged. One is for eligibility. The contest chair has the task of checking eligibility for all contestants ahead of time. It is very unlikely that you would know about an eligibility problem that had not been yet discovered. Therefore, you will only be dealing with two things. One is originality, and one is reference to another contestant's speech. In terms of originality, it is expected that if a contestant gives a quote, that contestant would say so-and-so said or so-and-so wrote. In other words, giving credit. And that kind of material is less than 25% of the speech. That's originality. I was an audience member once in a Tall Tales contest. And when I heard the tall tale, I knew that it wasn't original. But I was an audience member. I was helpless. I couldn't even talk to a judge about it. The judges and contestants are supposed to ignore audience members who say that's not original, because audience members are not any of the people who are allowed to bring a protest. Only contestants and judges may lodge a protest. And if you, as a judge or a contestant, want to lodge a protest, you must lodge it with either the chief judge or the contest chair, and that protest must be made before the winners are announced. It's usually done right after the contestant speaks, or, which is better, after all the contestants are finished speaking. My one run-in with a protest happened when I was a chief judge. Somebody protested that one of the contestants was actually giving a speech that was a television show script from a recent television show. Well, I didn't watch television, so I had no personal knowledge of this, but there was indeed the protest lodged. When there is a protest having to do with originality or reference to another contestant's speech, the judges will be called into a meeting isolated from the main audience. At International one year, when I was I think I was a qualifying judge, you can look up what that means. During the briefing, they said, if the announcer uses the following word, and they had a not common word, but one that wouldn't be too noticeable, then there has been a protest lodged, and all the judges should come to the back of the room to go into an isolated room. That was very clever. Usually, though, the chief judge will say the judges need to meet and take all the judges off. In a hybrid meeting, that would mean the in-person judges going to whatever the judge's isolation room is, and then everybody getting into a breakout room to have the discussion. So all the judges will discuss the protest. And after that, the defendant, in other words, the contestant who the protest was lodged against, has a chance to address the judges. Well, in the case of my experience, the person came in and said, oh, I'm a new member. I was asked last night to speak. They didn't tell me I couldn't talk, that it had to be original. I wasn't even told it had to be original. So we decided that we would disqualify the contestant, but we would not announce anything. We would just not have him in the list of winners. A majority of the judges rules in the decision to disqualify or not. Okay, what makes a good judge? You as a judge will be grading, not evaluating. And you must make every effort to be objective. I don't think that's 100% possible. You just have to be aware of your feelings and think about, oh my gosh, am I overwhelmed by a certain reaction to this speech that is going to keep me from giving an objective grade? Some of these things that may happen are, you've heard the speech before, you need to judge the speech as given at that time. The person has really great vocal variety, and you are influenced by that. That is called category bleed, because if you look at what you grade a person on, only part of it is on voice quality and vocal variety. If the person has tried many times before and not one, you may feel sorry for them and want to give them a boost. Or if the person has won many contests and even been up to the international level, you might think, oh, this person's going to be really good, and think that person should win. What if the subject makes you uncomfortable? In my experience in the 2001 World Championship that I attended with my little judges forum to test myself, there was a speaker that spoke about his grandfather's death, and I was affected emotionally. And I was also a little bit judgmental because that speaker mentioned Toastmasters, and I was told that that was a ploy to get more votes or better score from the judges if you mentioned Toastmasters. And in any case, that person came in third, and I had not ranked him close to that. I was just not aware of my prejudice. Another thing that might affect objectivity is if you know that the speaker was coached by a professional. Lots of speakers are. That should not affect your grade. There may be a prejudice whether it's the first or last speaker. Can anyone think of anything else that they would like to mention that might be a barrier to objectivity? You are welcome to unmute yourself and chime in if you have that. And I am not seeing anybody. Okay. You want to use the judging criteria on the judge's guide to the best of your ability. You can familiarize yourself with it every time, because if you turn over the ballot, on the back are the judging criteria. If somebody does something you think is wrong, take your best, fastest guess at the appropriate judging item for point subtraction. You can write a little note on your ballot, or a note somewhere else, or a little minus sign, whatever system you use. You are not to take into consideration whether the contestant was over or under time. That should not affect your ranking of the contestants. Trying to think of what else I wanted to say here, and I can't remember. So one of the handouts is an international speech contest guide and ballot. The guide, which is above the ballot, is yours to do with whatever works for you. It has 3 sections: a content section. Notice that this is says content, and it includes speech development, effectiveness, and speech value, and it counts for 50%. The next 2, physical and voice, count, and manner, the next 3, count for delivery at 30%. And language, appropriateness, and correctness count for 20%. These last 5 items are 10% each. The numbers on the ballot count for, are just suggestions. Let's take, if you can download the Judge's Guide and Ballot and look at side 2, we're going to have a few questions about what category you would subtract. So let's say the presentation was funny and dynamic, but it didn't have an opening, body, and conclusion. Where would you subtract points if that is the case?
Probably under speech development.
Yes, on speech development, because speech development says, let me read that. Speech development, blah, 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 must include an opening, body, and conclusion. So it's actually in there explicitly. Let's say the speech was perfect, but you want to leave room in case one of the next speakers is better. Well, I'm going to answer that. What I said before holds. The points are yours to do with whatever you want. So if you give somebody a maximum of 15, let's say in speech value, and somebody actually does better in your opinion, you can give 16 or 17. Those points are just suggestions. They're not rules. You are going to take the upper part of the ballot, and after the contest, you're going to treat it as classified waste and take it home for your dog to eat or to shred or to put in 2 or 3 waste baskets. Whatever you do not throw it away at the contest. It is yours to do with whatever you want. What if the speech is too much about the speaker and you can't really relate to the message, or maybe there's no message for the audience or for you? It's just all about speaker. Any information? Adam.
Would that be effectiveness under content?
I would put it under speech value because it says things like the listeners should feel the speaker has made a contribution to their thinking. I think effectiveness might be how the speech came across. Was I able to determine the speaker's purpose? So did the speech have a purpose? Did the speech relate to its purpose? But speech value talks more about saying something meaningful and original to the audience. Let's say the speaker doesn't have as resonant a voice as another contestant.
Voice, perhaps?
I would agree with that. Voice. I'm going to bypass the last question. You can answer that for yourself. After the contest, you are not to give any feedback to contestants. They're not supposed to know who you are, but they probably will figure it out. I know that if you're an in-person judge, you'll probably be having some brightly colored folder that nobody else has. I know one chief judge that bought 20 folders and handed some empty ones out to members of the audience to spoof being a judge so that a folder wasn't equated with a judge. I thought that was really funny. You don't have to do that. If you're a chief judge, you don't have to do that. Take the judge guide home to discard. I want to thank you very much for volunteering to be a judge. We did have a problem before, and in getting enough judges, especially at the area contest. Are there any questions? We are now open for questions.
Diana, this is Brenda.
Hi.
A question that I have is if there's going to be judges virtual, judges in person, how is all that coordination
Come
happening?
to our Adams and my chief judge training in a couple of hours. We do talk about how to solve that. The chief judge will decide how that's going to go, and probably require or should require that all the judges and the counters and certain other people be at a rehearsal. The key will be to get all the ballots to all the counters and then count correctly. I do want to say that some people have been passing out these spreadsheets for the counters where they put in the numbers and it totals them up for them. I personally do not like that. Just my own personal opinion. I think you should put in the numbers. One person say the numbers, the other person records them. The chief judge watches for accuracy, and then the chief judge adds up the numbers and somebody checks the addition. That's just my opinion.
And Brenda, just to quickly, I was going to say, and Brenda, just to quickly jump in, and for everyone else on the call, it's extremely important that if you're a judge this year, that you attend the rehearsal. It doesn't matter how many times you've been a judge in the past. This is our first time as a district being a hybrid speech contest with both in-person and remote. So it's really important that you show up for the rehearsal so that when we have the contest, we can pick a winner.
And that's why
Okay. Thank you, Brenda, for that question.
You're welcome, Diana.
If there is a speech contest tutorial at the Toastmaster International site, it has one of the best explanation of the judging criteria that I have seen. I think everybody should go review that. So you have some homework. I can't totally cover everything. And I'm just wondering when this session is supposed to end, and I forgot. It looks like I have till, I have till 2 o'clock. So we have another 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's right.
There's also the
I put these up as you asked. You do have, you still have 12 minutes.
Yes. So there is the speech contest rule book that is helpful. And I would also recommend for fun practice that you try to find some past World Championship of Public Speaking speeches. Try YouTube or whatever else your source might be, and use the judge's guide to see how you do with that speech, or with at least more than one. Any other questions? Sylvia.
You probably covered this. I did pop in and out, so I apologize. But a lot of people who are new to judging, they're worried they don't have enough experience as a Toastmaster to be a speech contest judge. How do you convince them that they are ready?
Well, it may take practice. I am thinking that judging past world championship speeches are very educational. I also think judging at area contests can be very educational. I think we have enough judges so that if one or two inexperienced people are in the mix, that's why we have many judges, that even though they may not do the evaluation correctly, they're still learning, but there would be enough judges so that the appropriate winner would be selected. So just, if you're new, just go for it.
Yeah, the other advice I would have is, in addition to what Diana said, is you can also sign up to be a counter in a contest that you're not judging, so that you can get some experience about just behind the scenes how the process works. In addition to like Diana said, to actually being a judge at an area or contest or division, etc.
Yes, that's a very excellent thing to do. And if you're worried about judging correctly, take a judge form with you and fill it out on the fly, and then compare it with what you see when you're counting.
That's good advice. I agree. That made me more confident too, filling in all of the roles behind the scenes as well. Timer too.
Any other questions?
10 minutes, Diana.
Okay, thank you. I think you can turn off the red light. So I went through faster than before, but I think I covered everything. But I'm still, there's 10 minutes for questions if anybody has any. Sylvia.
Yes. Okay, if someone did not attend the training, but we told them about the training we had and they wanted to participate this year, what would be their next step if they haven't attended this training or the ones that you've given so far?
If they haven't attended any training, well, we want judges to be trained sometime within the past 2 years. I don't think there's any makeup training, so they might not qualify, but I'm thinking, and I haven't thought of a good solution to solve that. If they really want to be a judge, I guess they should wait till next year and
Okay,
attend training sometime.
And Sylvia, I will add, if someone's really adamant on being a judge and they couldn't attend the trainings, they can always reach out to myself and we can maybe coordinate. If there's enough interest, we can coordinate maybe perhaps a makeup training that either myself or if Diana is available, one of us can lead.
Right.
that sounds good. And Adam is the chief judge for Founders District this year, so we can find your email on the website, right? foundersdistrict.org.
Yes,
Okay,
I'll also
all right.
post it in chat.
Okay, thank you.
Let's
Thanks,
see.
Diana. Very informational.
Thank you, Brenda. On my slide 1, I had my email address. I think if I can find where my chat is, I can post. I can post my email address.
And if you are interested in being a chief judge or a judge, please go ahead and let Diana and I know. We have this little tiny URL in the chat. If you want to go ahead and fill that out, that'll let us know of your interest for being a judge or even a chief judge this year.
Right, we do have chief judge training coming up in an hour or so. It is from 3:15 to 5:05 with a break in the middle.
There's a survey for this session too, the link will be put in the chat shortly. It'd be great to give Diana some feedback for her session. I know she'd appreciate it.
It is in the chat. I can
Oh.
put it out there again.
And also, once you've been a judge, one of the handouts has a copy of all of these slides. If you think there's something that should be changed or added to the presentation, I would appreciate knowing. You may not know until you're actually a judge.
Diana, this is Sherry, and I wanted to say one of the best things about becoming a judge is it allows you to become a much better speaker. It just happens. And
That's true. And if you follow the international contest, I've looked at that contest every year since 2010, except for 1 year, then you'll learn a lot about the construction of a really good speech.
Do you know if the district, or I guess Adam will know this, is that going to be hybrid? I've gotten a lot of questions about that, the district contest this year.
It is going to be hybrid.
Okay.
Yeah,
The
so,
in-person part will be at the Ollie Auditorium at the something or other train station.
yeah, so the area and division contests are all in the same physical location, the Irvine train station. There's some offices there that we have access to, and they're all on Saturdays. They don't overlap, no contest overlaps with each other. And then the district speech contest will be at a different location, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but that is also planned to be hybrid as well.
Oh, wow.
And you decide as a judge whether you want to be in person or remote. That's up to you.
Wow, that's great. You should get more judges that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
if anyone is interested, Saturday next at the Spiritual Center in San Clemente, there's going to be a speaker's workshop with judges. And the goal is give a speech, practice your speech, and have a couple of evaluators give you back information as if they were judges. So if anybody's interested in that, let me know and I'll forward information to you.
Wow, a silent Toastmasters meeting.
Well, thank you, Diana, for an excellent session. It's always, you are succinct and complete and inspiring, I might add too.
Oh,
So-
thank you very much.
Thank you.
I kind of like this being in front of your slides thing.
Yeah, you did that very well. I've seen a few people do it, and now I feel I have to do it too.
I have
But-
an instruction set that I can send to you how to do it.
Okay, great. I probably will reach out to you.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you can leave a little early if you want. It's like, it's an excellent when you let people out of a presentation early. Everybody loves that for an extra minute or two. Oh,
And I have found that it's really weird. The survey works whether you join it now. When the session ends, though, it comes up in your browser.
you get another opportunity. Sherry, did you lose your voice, you said, or I couldn't understand?
Oh, me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Why don't you end this meeting.
Well, no, I thought you lost your voice. Go ahead. I didn't understand. It's yours.
My I'm losing my connect.
Okay. I'll do it. Yep. Well, again, thank you. And we talked about the survey. And we just want to thank you and thank Diana for the presentation. Please consider judging. Step in.
Please.
It's really interesting. Please, yes, we're begging you. So at least get your name on the list, even if you're not sure this time around. You're trained. It will hold up for 2 years at least, according to Diana. So it's totally worth it. And what I'm going to say now is that stay tuned. If you want to go to the chief judge training, as Diana said, that's in the next hour, an hour from now. And there's also, if that's not your thing, there is a Pathways support group clinic at the end too, in the last session. You just go to foundersdistrict.org/LACE and register for that session with Susan Thompson. Thank you again.
Bye all. Ending the
Bye.
meeting.